Hi everyone, trying something a little bit different this time. I'm using my iPad to help me record the video rather than my phone so I can be hands-free. Thought I'd start with a little bit of maybe humor to begin with. As I've been talking about my last couple of videos, I retired just recently and I wanted to share with you a card that my wife got for me. So this is a card that she got, and it says, "You're retiring, so now's the time to look back on this place and say," yeah, well, thought it was a bit of a levity there. So anyway, I think a lot of us sometimes kind of feel that way when we're leaving work or departing a job for whatever reason, whether it be retirement or just making a change in a job. So anyway, so I enjoyed that card. It made me laugh when I saw it and she gave it to me. One of the things I had wanted to talk about in this video was around how did I know when I was ready to retire. And last time I talked a little bit about financially, and this time I want to talk a little bit more about it from my headspace, where I was in my head. And probably around 3 years ago, I began to feel like been there, done that before. Had been around the block a few times on some of the corporate items that you see that sort of there, as people would say, old wine in a new bottle type approach. And just began to really feel that I was separating in terms of my philosophy and the way that I thought things should be led and decisions should be made from the way the current leadership of the company was choosing to take a direction. So just philosophically, I was feeling out of place, and what that did was cause frustration in me, and that frustration created stress, and that was a negative stress, not a positive stress. I think we all know the benefits of positive stress. Sorry if you're hearing the birds up in the trees there next to me. They're getting a little bit loud this time of the evening. So it was creating a stress, and that anxiety or stress was causing me not to sleep well, I was carrying it around with me. And there wasn't really any way to release it other than starting to think about what were the things that I could do for myself to let it go. One of the things I started doing a lot of was taking care of myself and really exercising a lot. Began talking with my colleagues about some alternative viewpoints on issues, and started to really take some of the decisions and direction of the company in my role not so personally anymore. I was always a very committed person to my job and the way decisions were being made in the company. And I lived and breathed the company for good or bad. Um, and I began to find myself separating from that behavior, which just isn't the way I was wired. And so you begin to feel less than you're giving your best effort in certain initiatives. That when I kind of crossed that barrier and I knew that I was just sort of showing up for the job to show up, and my commitment wasn't the typical 150%, but maybe now buried between 80 and 99%. I knew it was time to start thinking about making a change in my life and say that this job wasn't for me anymore. And it was about the right time. It was approaching the time when I was getting ready for retirement financially, and I knew I could do it. And I wanted to do a lot more things with my life and the time that is so precious to us all, to do things that I truly enjoyed doing. Some of those are hobbies I want to explore, as I mentioned before, and I'll share my list with you in my next video on some of the things I have on the docket. And would like to hear if anybody else has other ideas too, because like I said, some of these will stick, some won't, and I'll just give them a try over time. But I really want to do what I get enjoyment out of. And part of that is traveling. I want to do traveling. I want to do some international traveling, domestic traveling. My wife and I haven't really traveled the United States a lot. We've done a lot of traveling outside the US, but not within the country. And there's so many beautiful things to see in the US that we haven't yet visited yet, and I want to show her. So I want to do traveling. I also want to do some things that go off into the space of helping the younger scientists in the world. So I'm very involved in trying to educate folks. I get a lot of enjoyment out of educating people, and the local university has invited me to teach a program for some of the students beginning in the fall of 2025. It would be a 1-credit course, so very part-time, 1 hour a week in a semester. Probably the hardest work will be the first go through on the initial semester, and then after that it'll be get a little bit more routine other than refreshing the information. So there's some of the things, but I just needed to make a change in my life. And when I began to feel that I wasn't giving my best anymore, I knew it wasn't fair to me or the company, and nor to my family as well either, and the staff around me who were depending upon me. They needed to have somebody who was all in. And I tried to be there as much as I can, but it just wasn't quite the way it was in the past for me prior to beginning to feel this difference in opinion. So that's part of my journey of how I began to realize that, at least in my headspace, I was ready for retirement. I'm sure everybody else has different reasons. It could be for health reasons. Thank goodness I did not have to deal with that, at least not yet. But that didn't kind of push me into the retirement area. It was again just more of how I felt about the situation overall. So that's a little bit of my thoughts on that, and look forward to sharing with you next time my list of things I want to do in retirement, my hobby list. So again, I'm Len. I have now completed my most week of retirement, I guess 4 days. I retired on Monday, July 1st. Today is Friday, July 5th. And so I've got my first Friday under my belt now of retirement. So if you like what I have to say, please give me a thumbs up. And if you would like to subscribe, I sure would appreciate that. So have a good one, everyone.